Backstory. I, 23 male, met my late husband, 34, in middle school, and we eventually got married. I'm surprised our relationship lasted, LMAO. I pursued my master's degree while he built up a very successful business and ended up selling it for a lot of money. Around last year, we found out he had a terminal illness, and he ended up passing away. He ended up drafting a will where I got everything except a few $1,000s that were given to his parents. What happened? My in-laws found out I got everything and asked me for things. I said no. They were basically no contact for 2 years before he passed away. Then they started pestering me for everything: the house, money, property, his belongings, etc. The things my in-laws want are very sentimental to me, as they belong to my late husband. They kept guilt-tripping me and trying to manipulate me. On top of that, I don't think my husband would have wanted them to have much, as nearing the end of his life, his parents never visited him and often made insulting remarks. I think they were expecting they would get all the money and didn't need to act nice to leech off him anymore. I don't think I'm being unreasonable, but my friends and family are berating me for being entitled and leeching off of him, calling me names and saying I only married him for money and everything. I'm feeling very stressed out and I don't know what to do. Am I the idiot for not giving up my late husband's things? Not the idiot. Spouse trumps everyone else. He would have put it in his will if he wanted them to have more than a few $1,000s. Ordinarily, I might suggest finding some compromise on things that maybe weren't as sentimental or duplicates, etc. But if they're going to run you through the mill for it, up theirs. Your friends and his family are the idiots here. Don't give them anything. And please, make new friends. Agreed. No true friend would berate you for the loss of your husband. They should be trying to comfort you and lend support. You lost the love of your life and met him in middle school, and they dare say you married him for money? I doubt your husband was rolling in cash back then. I feel like your friends are trying to make you start giving away stuff, and so it's easier for them to get some of these sentimental and expensive things. Like, oh, he and I would drive the sports car and so many memories. I would love something to remember him by. No contact has a price. I bet they didn't expect it to cost them so much. Your husband left you what he did for a reason. Do not give in to their bullying. Get a lawyer to send them a leave me alone notice to cease and desist all forms of communication and harassment. Change your number and block them on social media. If they aren't there to emotionally support you, they serve no purpose in your life. Focus on yourself and don't worry about them. Cut them off and cut them out. You don't need faux family and fake friends. Please seek out a grief therapist, though, and don't make any major financial expenditures or gifts while you're still grieving. People are vultures. You were with your husband every step of the way. Your late husband made his wishes known in his will. Do not cave. You have been more than generous. I have 2 children with my husband who are kindergarten age and a little older. My husband has 2 older children who are teens. My husband and his ex-wife divorced 10 years ago, and we met 9 years ago and married 8 years ago. My stepkids have had some complicated feelings about their parents' divorce, understandably, and as a child of divorce myself, I understand them totally. The problem came up recently when my stepson had to write about the worst thing that happened in his life, and he put the divorce of his parents. My husband was concerned that despite being so young, and after a decade, his son still felt that that was the worst thing to happen to him. His daughter also feels the same way, as she told her dad when he was talking to her brother. My husband had this discussion while our kids were home, and they heard my stepkids tell my husband that they wished he and their mom had not fallen out of love and had wanted to stay married. My kids were upset hearing this and took it more personally than it was meant. Later that night, they were upset and asked me why their siblings didn't love our family and why they wouldn't want them. I asked where was this coming from, and my older daughter told me what they heard and how them feeling like that meant they don't love and want them. I told them it wasn't true, and I asked them to put themselves in their siblings' shoes. I talked them through some of it in an age-appropriate way, What if Daddy and I were no longer together? How would you feel? They answered sad, and I asked if they would be happy if we divorced, if Daddy remarried and they had siblings from him and a stepmom, and they said no. I explained that this is how it was for their older siblings. They said it was kind of different since it's us, and I told them it might feel that way for them, but it isn't the same for their older siblings. They asked me if I felt the same way about Grandma J and Grandpa B, and I said yes. I said I didn't want them to be miserable together, but that a part of me would always wish my parents had been a better couple together. I checked in with my kids the next day, and they were doing better. My stepkids thanked me for understanding and for explaining it to them, because they would have hurt their feelings if they'd had to attempt to explain that stuff to them. I told them never to be ashamed of their feelings and that they're normal, and being kids of divorce is something not everyone fully understands. My kids ended up talking to my in-laws about what we discussed and their siblings, and they blew a fuse and said that conversation was inappropriate for such young kids. My husband told them they were exaggerating, but they said I had a much too grown-up talk with them and made them think it's okay to not accept change and to think parents owe it to their kids to stay together for the kids. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You're a wonderful mom and stepmom. If the kids are old enough to be part of a blended family, they're old enough for discussions about the blending. And honestly, I think it's really sweet that the divorce was the worst thing that happened to them. It was 10 years ago. That means they got through puberty and a big chunk of their teen years without another major trauma. And they aren't citing incidents they witnessed leading up to the divorce or any other leading causes of childhood trauma. I'm not minimizing the pain of divorce, but it is a pain most families know in one way or another, and that's their absolute worst. Yeah, I agree with this. I was happy when my parents divorced. I envy people who were devastated by their parents' divorce because it means they probably weren't traumatized by their parents' unhappy marriage. You approach the situation correctly. Screw what your in-laws think. I, 23 female, gave a baby up for adoption when I was 18. It's an open adoption, so I know the parents and they know me. The child knows me too. They just don't know I'm their bio parent. I didn't realize I was pregnant until I was too far along to have other options. I was going through a lot emotionally at the time, trying to cope with what made the pregnancy happen, not something I said yes to. My parents, mostly my mom, 49, kept pushing me to raise the child. Obviously, I didn't. My mom has a hard time accepting that I don't think of myself as this child's mother in any capacity. They have a mom, a good one who loves them more than anything in the universe, and she's an incredible woman who deserves all the credit of how great of a person they're turning out to be. I'm not their mom. I will never be their mom. I don't want to be their mom. My brother, 25, just had a baby with his fiance, 25 female, and my mom got her a necklace with her and the baby's birthstone on it. I wasn't at the celebration my family had since I was working that day, so my mom said she'd just swing by with the gift she got me, and I could hand off the gift I got her. Well, she showed up today, and when I opened the box, I saw that it was a necklace with my birthstone and the birthstone of the child I had put up for adoption. I asked her why she got that for me, and she said that she had been given a similar necklace when she became a mom, and she wanted to do the same for me and bro's fiance. I told her that I wasn't a mom and that I wouldn't be wearing the necklace. She told me that her getting it was so that I would wear it, and I said, "That's too bad. Take it back." She took the necklace and left, but now she's incredibly upset with me. She thinks I'm being ungrateful and disrespectful for rejecting a gift. I vented to my brother about it, and he said I probably should have just said thanks and just never let the thing see the light of day. But he thinks that our mom was overstepping the clear boundary that I've set about this. I still feel bad. I know that she's probably just trying to handle the whole situation in her own way, and I'm trying to handle it in mine. But I don't know if saying, "That's too bad, take it back," was a little too harsh or not. Am I the idiot? Well, this is a first for me. I've never read a story about an unwanted gift where the recipient was not the idiot for rejecting it, and yet here we are. Your mom was completely out of line. Wow, you should give your mom up for adoption too. Your mom is being extremely disrespectful to you. You seem to have made it clear multiple times how you feel about the entire thing, and she's not respecting any of it. I wonder if your mother knows this family and child. I would worry that given her attitude, she would be the one to let it slip that she's by your grandma at some point. She doesn't know them. I told the parents that I wouldn't be comfortable with the child knowing my extended family. I don't think she'd ever go so far as to contact them or anything like that. So I will try to explain to her that the gift and her insistence on labeling me as a mom are just a reminder of everything that happened. She just doesn't understand why I feel the way I do, because she thinks she would have handled it all differently. That seems more like a gift for herself than anything else. Her coping skills need to be revisited for sure. The fact that she doesn't understand, that you don't want to carry a reminder of your trauma around your neck, baffles me. Take care of yourself, OP. You may not feel like a mother, but your mom probably does feel like a grandmother. She is a grandmother, at least biologically. She probably is still coming to terms with not having her grandchild in her life, and there's a certain grief that comes with that. She's powerless in this whole situation, but it still affects her. Her buying you that gift, etc., might be her way of trying to include the child in some capacity. There was probably a level of guilt involved for her, buying your brother's fiance that gift, acknowledging that grandchild, but not the other. How you feel about the child you birthed isn't how she feels. You're not the idiot, but I wouldn't be hard on her either. I, female 32, recently inherited a good amount of money from my mom. I kept the money in a separate account as I still hadn't decided what to do with it, and I didn't want it to go to waste. However, I noticed my husband constantly bringing up the inheritance money and making countless suggestions on how I should spend it. Another thing is that he expects me to pay for nearly everything in the past couple of weeks. For New Year's Eve, my husband and I met with his family at a restaurant to celebrate. It was going fine until I learned I was expected to pay for everyone at the table. My husband's mom joked about paying for dinner out of my inheritance pocket, which made me livid, but I showed no reaction, just silently paid for my own food and drinks, then got up and made my way out of the restaurant. They were shouting after me like a crowd, and my husband tried to get me to come back, but I drove home. He got back at 3 a.m., yelling at me, saying I was pathetic to get up and walk out on him and his family after they relied on me to pay for their food and thought I was gracious enough to do it. But they were wrong. He said I humiliated him and his family, and that what I did was an attempt to get back at them for not being able to help Mom when she was sick. Not true is all I'm going to say. He's mad and is saying that I caused a huge rift between his family and me when it wouldn't have hurt for me to pay for the celebratory dinner. Am I the idiot? So let me get this straight. Your mother died after an illness, and the thing your in-laws take from this is, great, now she can pay for everything? Ask him where he wants to celebrate when his mom dies. These idiots rarely actually think it through with empathy for others. Yeah, not the idiot. Gosh, the bar is so low. It's a tavern in Hades. OP, ask him when he asked you to pay for dinner. Because he didn't. Ask him why his family thought you would pay for dinner, OP. Because I expect it's because he told them that without consulting you. Ask him how it's ethical for him to commit to using your inheritance money for absolutely anything without asking you first. I'm curious how he'll answer this. My condolences, OP, for the loss of your mother and for having an idiot for a husband. Maybe we can soon congratulate her on the loss of her husband. Your mom may have left you a final gift, the freedom to walk away from a marriage that isn't working for you. Yeah, a divorce attorney may be a wise investment, since hubby has shown his true colors. Instead of suggesting they spend the money on buying a house or rental property or put it away for retirement, he wants her to blow the money ever since she got it. Good for her to keep it separate and talk to a financial advisor and maybe a divorce or probate attorney so that the inheritance is properly kept as a separate asset and not commingled into marital property. My brother Mike and his wife have 5 boys. One of them is actually our nephew, Jesse, who is a pre-tween, and my brother and his wife were granted guardianship for him 2 years ago when our other brother passed away. Mike and I got into a huge fight over Jesse. I told him that he and his wife could barely take care of themselves, and I didn't see how they could afford another mouth to feed. I, on the other hand, am single and have enough money to where I could put Jesse in the best private school, play whatever sports he wanted, and he'd live in a really cool house by the beach. We went to court, and I had the backing of CPS. I offered to do a joint guardianship with Jesse, but Mike backstabbed me and filed for sole guardianship. He got it because he and his wife already have kids, and none of them are screwed up. It did impact my relationship with everyone. I left it in Mike's court with my role since he has custody. There's been next to no contact in a year. Last week, Mike asked me if I could give him a short-term loan because they're drowning financially. There's a medical bill, car, or house repair bill on top of everything else. I asked him how much he needed to clear everything and start back at zero, and he said $20,000. That's not a lot of money to me, but I shamed him for not thinking the guardianship through. Now he's paying the piper and asking the brother who he backstabbed for a bailout. He's not the super dad that he pretends to be. Plus, Jesse's acting out in school, and I can only imagine how difficult it must be to get individual attention outside bath time. Everything else is just family time. I agreed to give him the money on the condition that he and I file for joint guardianship next year. The goal is for Jesse to live with me. Unfortunately, his nasty wife accuses me of being a bully and an idiot with money. Am I the idiot for shaming my brother? You are the idiot. You sound like a spoiled brat because you didn't win in court. If you're so rich, as you say, why would you not financially help your nephew if you truly wanted what's best for him? Why is that offer only on the table if he's living with you? Your brother comes to you desperate, and you shame him for it, then add conditions for the loan. You should be the one ashamed. You've done nothing for your nephew. And by the way, you have 5 nephews. You lack emotional intelligence. The court made the right choice. So OP's the idiot because he wants the kid to live in a place where he could have individual care, a better education, his own room, etc. The brother proved him right. He didn't have the funds to take care of the kid by himself. That's why OP wanted joint custody, but the brother stabbed him in the back. I think OP's not wrong for wanting to give this child more. Also, it sounds unlikely that the $20,000 loan would ever be repaid. It would be a gift. How long before they find themselves in the same situation again? Plus, the nephew isn't thriving in that environment. OP, go for full custody. They backstab you and now want your help. And his wife is calling you a bully? LOL, I would go to court again and fight for custody and get a good lawyer. Now they're broke. They can't afford a good lawyer. And you could get joint or even full custody. Be petty and go for it. Everyone's the idiot here. Bouncing Jesse around again? Offering help in exchange for guardianship of a child? It just all seems ick. Your brother is an idiot for backstabbing you or going against the agreement. Unfortunately, you couldn't work together for what's best for the child. If you want what's best for the kid, why does he need to live with you for you to help or help financially anyway? Not that you're obligated to pay your brother's bills, but you could be helping Jesse more regardless. Put BS aside and think of the kid who lost their father. You both can do better for him.